critical element to a successful speech, the script. So first, I'm going to share with you about writing a script, and I'll divide it into 3 parts. Before writing, during writing, and after writing. So moving into the first part, what should we do before we start to write a script? There are mainly 2 kinds of ways to conduct a speech draft. The first one is called the verbatim style. That is, you write down every word you're going to say in your speech, word by word. This is recommended for your C1 speech because as a newcomer, as a not so experienced speaker, writing down words word by word will soothe your nervousness on stage. And for example, now I'm using this kind of style, another style called the key point style. So I may seem more nervous now on stage because I don't have a script. And this kind of style is more suitable for a longer presentation, like a workshop I'm having today. You have to present for about 20 or 30 minutes. It's impossible for you to memorize it word by word. So, for example, I use PowerPoint as a hint for me. The key points are on the PowerPoint for me. So I list it out one by one. And this is the key point style. So for C1 speech, I would recommend you do it in the verbatim way. And also, writing it down word by word, you can try to arrange different paragraphs. Because in a speech that is 4 to 6 minutes, you have to arrange the paragraph very delicately so you can reach the maximum effect. So I recommend the verbatim one. And materials, here's just some materials I usually use for my speeches. Like stories, it may be the story and experience of yourself, or a story of a celebrity. Does anyone know who she is? No? What? I heard someone said?
The youngest female Nobel Prize.
Yeah, right. Malala, yes, from Pakistan. And also, maybe some recent news. Another category is ideas. And you can use statistics or some researches you've read to support your ideas and to convey the values you want to share with everyone. So how do we collect these materials in our daily lives? I recommend all of you to have a small notebook with you so you can write down everything you have encountered or you have observed in your daily life inside it. And this is how I get my ideas for my speeches. So no matter I'm riding on a bus, before I go to sleep, I always have my notebook beside me. And if I think of something, I'll write it down. And I think it's really, really useful. If you have some high technology device, electronic devices like an iPad or something, I recommend Evernote. It's kind of like an electronic notebook, and it looks like this. So you can see you can have different notebooks and categories inside it. And for example, if I want to share with you why is Toastmasters Toastmasters. So first, I would like to tell a story, the origin of toasting drinks. And so I can put related materials inside Evernote. And what's more, what makes this so convenient is because it has a function called Clearly. Say, if I see this article on the website, and it is about the origin of toasting drinks, but it has a lot of ads or some unrelated information on it. With one button, you click a button called Clearly, and then the article looks like this. It records down the article and the picture itself, but move the ads away. So I think it's a really convenient tool to use. And it'll paste it to your Evernote automatically. So I think it's a really useful tool if you have an electronic device. Also, if you're a member of the International Toastmasters, you'll receive a manual called the Competent Communication Manual. And inside it, there are 10 speeches. and each speech has a goal, just like Sammy said yesterday. So these are the goals or the speeches related to how to write a script. There are C2, organize your speech, C3, get to the point, C4, how to say it, and C7, research your topic. So these can also be your references before you start writing a script. Okay, now moving on, during writing. Basically, structure 3 parts: opening, body, and conclusion. So what should we do in the opening? To grab the attention of the audience. And moving on to the body, we extend our ideas and our stories that we want to share. In the conclusion, we use a powerful ending to leave a deep impression in the audience's mind. So opening, how can we grab the attention of the audience? Does anyone have any ideas?
Sing a song.
Sing a song, great. Time to sing. Yes, just like Ivan did yesterday in IE. That's great. I have 2 examples for you. The first one is to get the audience involved in your speech. And the second one is surprise, which I consider singing a song is also a surprise for the audience. So I have some examples for you. This first one, how do we get the audience involved? The first method, find out about your audience, which is to do a survey. For example, if I want to deliver a speech about the benefit of drinking green tea today, maybe I should start my speech like this. Well, how many people here regularly drink green tea? Can you please raise your hand? No one? Okay, 1. Thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, many. And how many of you are aware of the health benefits from drinking it? Great. So can you give me an example? No, just kidding. Well, imagine if I told you that certain extracts from green tea may have very important implications in the treatment of cancer. So by doing a survey, you know your audience better, and you build a connection with them because you're going to talk about green tea, right? The benefits of drinking green tea. And some of them drink green tea, so they will pay more attention to your speech later. And the second part, create a scenery using vivid words. For example, today, if I'm going to deliver a speech about the stage fright I have, I might start like this. Dazzling lights strobed my eyes recklessly as I stepped onto the enormous stage. All was quiet, dead silence, I would say, instead of the rapidly pumping heart roaring in my chest. So by using these kind of words, images and pictures pops up in the audience's mind. They can feel what you're saying. It's like they're actually there. So creating a scenery for the audience to build up an atmosphere, that is also a great way to involve the audience into your speech. And the third example, ask a rhetorical question. That is a question that you will answer later in your speech. For example, if you want to share something about earthquake in Taiwan, you may start like this. We live in an earthquake-prone region. Do you know how safe the building is that you live or work in? Do you think it would survive an earthquake? So these questions, the answers to these questions are the things that you're going to share later in the body part of your speech. So it's like a hook to the audience. So the above 3 examples is how you involve the audiences into your speech. And now we go into the next part, surprises. So by giving them surprises, you attract their attentions. Surprises like referring to surprising data or facts. If you're going to share about PowerPoint with them, you may start like this. The skills of presentation with visual aids has become more and more popular these days. There are over 300 million PowerPoint users in the world who do an estimated 30 million presentations every day. So by giving these kind of data or facts that is out of the audience expectations, It may give them surprises. And the second example is to go against the audience expectations. So here's an example. In one of the demo speech a long time ago, about like 3 years. So what do you expect to hear in a demo speech? What kind of speeches? Yu-Tian, what kind of speeches? What do you expect to hear?
How good Toastmasters is.
Yes, how good Toastmaster is. Oh, I love Toastmaster. It's a warm, big family, and how I love English. But sometimes another way can also do. So this is what Yizhu said in a speech in demo meeting. Good evening, everyone. In the summer vacation we just went through, I thought very hard to figure out a proper speech for today's demo meeting. Maybe I should start at, once upon a time, a little girl opened the door of NTU Toastmasters and finally met her destiny. Or I should conclude the speech in, come join us, we'll be a happy family. Yes, very typical, right? Then she said, however, this kind of storytelling is totally not my style. Now it's time to tell the truth. I want to make a confession that I haven't told anyone before. I hate speeches. Yeah, so that's what Yizhu told everybody in the demo meeting. She hates speeches. Yeah, that's also a great way to start. And then she told us about her story, her feelings, some experience of herself, and why she's staying in Toastmasters now. So in the end, it comes back to I come join us. We'll be a happy family also. But there's more up and down inside it. And in the opening, you'll be curious. You hate speeches, so why are you staying in NTU Toastmasters now? So you'll want to hear her story. And the third one, start with an interesting image. So image is something that gives a big impact on the audience. Because sometimes pictures speak louder than words. So for example, if I want to share with you the importance of brushing teeth every day, I might start with, before I begin, I'd like to show you something. Rome wasn't built in a day. So yeah, it's a tip. That is, maybe if you don't brush your teeth every day, your teeth will become like this. So using these kind of impressive images will leave a great impression in the audience mind. So above are the 3 examples of surprises. So getting your audience involved or creating a surprise for your audience. And the main point is to get their attention. Attention, attention, attention. Yes, in the opening. Then we move on into the body part. What should we do in the body part of our speech? So first, expand your ideas and stories. You have to put a little bit of twists and turns inside it, so it won't be so flat. And your story should also have a logical flow. And as between your paragraphs, you have to be coherent. There should be a coherent core value throughout your speech. And next, always remember to have a connection with the audience. So twists and turns, logical flow, and the connection with the audience. It's what you should always think of and keep in mind when you're writing the body of your speech. So in order to make it easier for you to memorize, TLC. Do you know what TLC means? Uh-oh, generation gap. Okay, traveling and living channel, channel 21, if you're living in Taipei. Okay, forget it.
Yeah.
Just remember twists and turns, logic flow, and connection with the audience. Okay, so writing vs speaking. This is what I'm going to talk about. So in your speech, I recommend to write what you say because it's really different from just writing and the literature, that kind of thing. Use colloquial words so the audience can understand you more clearly. Because when you write something or when you read something, if you don't get it the first time, you can go backwards and then read it again. But during the speech, if you said one sentence and the audience can't get it, the chance is gone. They don't have the opportunity to go backwards, to rewind. So I would recommend you to use colloquial words in your speech. So here's an example. In fact, when I take a candid inspection into it, I'm astonished that it kept putting influential effects upon me. That may be not so easy for the audience to understand. So maybe you can try to change it into, in fact, when I look back on it frankly, I'm astonished that it keeps on influencing me even until today. So try to use some words that are more comprehensible for your audience. And also, avoid using jargons. Jargons like conceptualize, interface, parameters, utilization, viable. These words could be transformed into conceptualize, imagine, interface, talk with, parameters, limits, utilization, use, viable, possible. So these are some words that we use more often in our daily lives. So avoid using jargons. Now, moving on into the conclusion part. In the conclusion part, we can have a brief summary of our speech to remind the audience again what the speech is about, what the core value is. So first, stress out the core value once again. And second, maybe you can use a quote as a conclusion of your speech. For example, if I'm delivering a speech about happiness, I may like to quote Jim Rohn. Happiness is not something you postpone for the future. It is something you design for the present. So these kind of sentences that are powerful, or they're from famous people, they can conclude your speech very perfectly. Or maybe the third one, call for actions. So today, like what Ethan did yesterday, not Ethan, yes, what Ethan did yesterday. He said to accumulate one step at a time, to work one step at a time, and we can accumulate it, and we can complete something great. So he called for action for the audience to do the same thing as he did, to make progress every day, little by little, and then we can reach the sky. So this kind of method is called call for action to the audience. You share your core value with them, and you invite them to do what you're doing or to follow the core value you've shared with them. So call for actions. Also, you can have some take-home message for the audience. Maybe some questions for the audience to think deeper of the things you've shared about. Okay, so structure. Let's have a little review. In the opening part, we should capture the audience attention. And we can do it with two kind of ways. The first way is to involve them into your speech. And the second way is to give them surprises. And second, the opening leads into your speech topic, and which comes to the body part. You should stress out the main point and the subpoint, and add on some supporting materials. In the conclusion part, we can give a review or a brief summary of our whole speech, and maybe call for action. So after writing a script, what should we do? We should rehearse and revise. It is kind of like a cycle. From my experience, in every rehearsal, I've always found some mistakes, maybe grammar mistakes or something else in my script. So I went back to revise it. And also, when you're rehearsing, you found that maybe you can memorize some part of your script so easily, and then you can revise it and change it in the words you can remember more easily. So by rehearsal and revision, the speech will approach perfection each time. So it's a really important cycle. Rehearse, revise, and rehearse and revise. Okay, so this will be the first part of the prepared speech. These are some of the tips I can think of to help you write a script. So do you have any question now? No? Okay. then that means we can move on. So after you write a script, you have to do the presentation. So let's go back to our topic today. Oops. Our topic, how to cook a perfect steak. Yes, first we have to have fresh materials, right? That is the script you have. So after the fresh material and how you cook the steak, what is also important is how you decorate your dish. So this may be the steak, how the steak look like on the dining room table in my home. But this is how the steak will look like in a decent restaurant. So you see, the same things, a steak and a French fries, but how you decorate the dish makes a difference. So also in the presentation, if you have a good script, how you present it, how you deliver it to the audience can make a difference too. So now I'm going to share with you some tips about presentation. This is a sentence I like very much. Body language speaks louder than words. And it is said by Joey Chen in the 2014 SGD1. So body language is really important. And there are mainly two factors in a presentation, the speaker and the visual aid. That is me, the speaker, and the PowerPoint. But we should always remember that the focus should be put on the speaker. Visual aid is only an aid. It can only help you to make the performance better. But the fundamental thing, the key element should be the speaker himself or herself. So what can we do as a speaker? So this is a speaker, right? From head to toe, what can we do? So first, we'll look at the head part. So on our head, we have two eyes and the mouth, right? And the nose. But you can do something with the nose regarding presentation. So first, we'll look at the eyes, eye contact. The purpose of the eye contact, in my mind, is to build a connection with your audience. And also, it's a way of communication. So this is my tip. Don't let your eyes wander around in the room. Because if you want to build up the atmosphere of communicating, instead of rehearsing your script, you should look at the people once at a time. So for example, if I'm doing the paragraph 1 in my script, maybe I'll look at, say, Samming for 10 seconds. And after this paragraph, I'll look at Yu Tian for 10 seconds, or so on. So by looking at people for a certain amount of time, they'll feel that you're actually talking to you. You're not just performing that, oh, I have eye contact. You're actually talking to someone. Yeah. So by this kind of way, we can have more interactions and more connections with the audience. And the second one, the mouth part, vocal variety. The purpose of the vocal variety is to convey emotions in your speech and build the ups and downs. So there are some tips or some elements of vocal variety. It consists of 3 P's and volume, and the 3 P's are pace, pitch, and pauses. So here are some examples. If you want to convey a certain emotion, for the exciting part, I'll recommend you quick pace and high pitch. Like, we're going on a picnic, instead of, we're going on a picnic. Yes, and solemn part with a slower pace and lower pitch. That was the last time I saw him, as I said goodbye with tears. So by the difference of pace and pitch, we can build up different emotions. And importance. Using vocal variety, you can stress the important parts in your speech. How can we do this? For example, statement and fact. You should go through it in a fast pace. Like, Steve Jobs was an American entrepreneur, marketer, and inventor, who was the co-founder, chairman, and CEO of Apple. So these kind of facts and statements might not be the core value or the main interest of the audience. So during the important part, or the part you want to stress, the core value, the inspiring part, you should say it in a slow pace. Stay hungry, stay foolish. Something like that. Next, also, pauses are really important in your speech. So remember to breathe. So I use two words to show the function of having pauses. PA, punctuation and attention. Punctuation means that you have to leave breathing time for you inside your script. And attention is by using pauses, you can grab the attention of the audience. Like now, I'm not saying anything, but your attention is on me because you'll be wondering why does he stop talking? So by leaving some pauses before the important sentence you want to say is a very good way to attract the attention of the audience. And I like these sentences. I think it elaborates the function of having pauses in your speech really well. So besides allowing you to fill your lungs with air, pausing also allows the audience to absorb the spoken words. Yeah, you give the audience time to think of what you've just said, to have time to digest, and create pictures in their own mind. The habit of pausing eliminates the dreaded and and adds emphasis to our last point. Yeah, so it has a lot of benefits. For example, this paragraph. If I say it without pauses, it will be like this. In that demo meeting, I was deeply impressed by how a speaker could influence others and how magical words could fill people with laughter and warmness. I was filled with dreams and ambitions then. I set up my goals to become an inspiring yet interesting speaker, and I plan to finish my C10 within 2 years. If I do all my speech like this, I'll be out of breath, and you'll be asleep on your stage. So this is how it sounds like if I add pauses into it. In that demo meeting, I was deeply impressed by how a speaker could influence others and how magical words could fill people with laughter and warmness. I was filled with dreams and ambitions then. I set up my goals to become an inspiring yet interesting speaker, and I planned to finish my C10 within 2 years. So maybe you can hear the differences. I add some pauses between different sentences, and I add pauses in front of, before the things I want to stress out. So pauses are very useful in your speech. So remember to add some pauses into it when you write a script. Now, moving down, we come to the body part, body language and gestures. The purpose of body language and gestures is to let it seem natural on stage and also relieve the nervousness of the speaker. And also, it enhances the credibility of the speaker. And the tips for body language is to have purposeful body language that is full and varied. So for example, if you want to do a body language